If you've ever struggled with recruiting, onboarding, and training new agents for your real estate team or brokerage, then this video and interview is for you. Attracting and retaining talent, top talent, can be a challenge, and many teams rely on passive recruiting methods that fall short and leave them without any high quality agents to grow and succeed in their real estate company. Additionally, the process of onboarding can be really time consuming and inefficient. Lots of administrative tasks and paperwork can slow down productivity. Training agents to effectively convert leads and maximize their potential adds another layer of complexity to the equation. So if that sounds familiar to you, then Humaniz might be your answer. Humaniz addresses these pain points head on with an all-in-one agent growth and management system. They automate and streamline the recruiting process and helps real estate teams attract, qualify, and hire and train new agents at scale. So Chris Giannos is the founder of Humaniz, and he's here to explain more. And I'm sorry I didn't ask you, did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I just took a guess there. I forgot to ask. So Chris, thanks for joining. Can you initially share the story behind Humaniz and why you decided to found it?
100%. I think you did a better job of explaining our platform than I ever have, Elena. So that was cool. That was very well said. Yeah, to tell the story, it's kind of interesting and it's really easy to tell because like I've been in almost all of our customers' seats before, right? I worked at Zillow for 5 years. I got hired there when I was 19 years old. I don't know why they hired me, but they did. And then after 5 years of working at Zillow in Premier Agent advertising sales, so I probably cold called some of you at some point in my life. We know we love those calls, right? I split off like every good Zillowite does, I think, and was like, hey, I'm gonna become a real estate agent because it's easy, right? You buy leads, you convert them, and you make millions of dollars, and it's the easiest thing on the planet. And those were my famous last words. Um, the first 6 months, I didn't sell a single house, and then sold like 15 the back half of that first year, so that was cool. But I realized it was a lot harder than it sounded and looked, right? And then a lot harder than kind of Zillow brainwashed us to believe it was, right? Um, After that first year, I realized really quickly that I liked the leverage of a team and I liked building teams. And I was really fortunate to work with a broker at that point in time who was like, yeah, let's start a team inside the brokerage and let's grow this thing. And I was at a Remax franchise, got some initial traction, built out a team up to about 20, 30 people, and was having a blast. And then in May of 2020, Zillow Flex came to our market, right? And we got the Zillow Flex call, and they basically said, hey, the world is shut down. We're going to try this new thing. Rates were doing what they were doing, and we got a Zillow Flex account. And it was awesome. And from a recruiting perspective, that was the first time where I really had an intrinsic need to recruit fast, right? I needed to figure out how to systematically bring on board 5, 6, 10 agents on a monthly basis. And I learned that that was going to be a little more difficult, at least for where I was at from a skills perspective at a Remax franchise, because the barrier is a little bit higher, right? In a good way. It keeps good agents in and bad agents out, right? And after trying to recruit for a couple of months and realizing that it was going to be a little bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be, I got a call from a gentleman named Elmer Morales, who owned a company called eHomes, and basically called me and said, hey, dude, we got a Flex account. I see what you're doing. Do you want to come help us build and open an office in Orange County, and we'll give you everything you need, and like, let's do this. And then I jumped on it. So that was in August of 2020. I brought my original team over into Elmer's brokerage. And between August 1st of 2020 and January 3rd of 2023, when I stepped out of that role, recruited about 250 agents, sold about $1.5 billion in real estate, and built out on FUB the whole time. So that was awesome, right? And built out kind of the framework and processes that would become Humaniz, right? So we figured out how to systematically recruit, onboard, train, and manage agents at scale, right? I taught the same training twice a month, every month for 28 months in a row. My goal was to have 5 butts in those seats every training, new agents joining the team, not new to the business, but new to our team. And like ran it like a machine in like a military for 2.5 years, and it worked really, really well. late Q4 of 2022, I was sitting there going, all right, what does my next chapter look like? What does the next part of this look like? And I'd been doing some really lightweight, like coaching almost, working with some other teams and brokerages and kind of teaching them how to do what I did with my team. And realized really quickly that time arbitrage wasn't going to be my thing. So we sat down and went, hey, what part of this coaching presentation or package that we've been giving people could we turn into an actual product? And that's how Humaniz was born, right? We dumbed it way down to the very first thing that we can do, which is like, hey, we've got a process where we can pull a lever and create recruiting appointments. And we launched an MVP in Q4 of 2022. We sold a minority interest in the company to Tom Ferry and a group of investors in Q1 of 2023. And now we're working with over 200 real estate teams and brokerages nationally. So it was a tool that we created for ourselves and then realized, wait a second, this might help other people. And here we are having this conversation today. So
yeah. So 250 agents is not insignificant. I'm sorry if I missed it or if you already said it. What was the time frame that you onboarded that many?
28 months. So just over 2 years. Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, not insignificant. You must have implemented some serious systems and automations to be able to do that, because you as a one-man show just can't realistically do that on your own. And
yeah, I mean, so to be fair, at scale, right, I had 8 team leaders that were working under me. I had a full-time recruiter at scale, right? So it started off like judge, jury, and executioner was me, right? And that's where the systems really became valuable. But at scale, we did grow from an employee standpoint. But you're 100% right. Like
even with 8 people, that's a lot.
It's still a lot of moving parts. Yeah.
Yeah. So at a super high level, can you explain what Humaniz is and how it helps real estate teams recruit?
Good question. So we have 3 product features, core features: recruit, onboard, and manage in one centralized place, right? From a recruiting standpoint, the system does automated what we call the 3 S's. So it sources, it screens, and it schedules interviews with agents looking to join your team or brokerage directly into your calendar. How we do that from a sourcing standpoint is the system syndicates job copies and advertising campaigns to job boards and social media, right? So Instagram, Facebook, all that cool stuff. Casts a really wide digital net. When someone applies for a role and gets into the funnel, the system reaches out to them via text message and validates 2 data points. Number 1, they have an active real estate license in the state of wherever you're doing business. And number 2, they have an interest in scheduling a phone call to discuss moving their license to a new brokerage. Once those 2 conditions are met, we then go to the final S, which is the scheduling of an interview. So that person can now self-schedule an interview through a portal directly onto your calendar. All of our appointments are double confirmed. So we've got an 86% show rate at scale right now, which we think is pretty cool. And at that point, the team leader can stop worrying about the administrative work that it takes to get to appointments and instead start worrying about having conversations and convincing people to join their brokerage or team, right?
So up to this point, the process you've mentioned involves 0 human involvement.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. You pull a lever, 0 human involvement after we get what we need from you.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So we obviously have to understand your team's value prop and why an agent can work for you and all that stuff. But once that's done, it's you put a coin in, you pull a lever, and there's appointments on your calendar, right? The next 2 parts of our product evolved. We started with just the recruiting piece, and we've made significant improvements to it since. But from an onboarding and management perspective, we noticed our tool created a little bit of a problem. A lot of these teams would hire 5, 10 agents, and then all of a sudden they've got now an administrative burden to actually onboard these agents from like a paperwork and process standpoint, right? And a lot of the brokerages we work with or teams, we ask them what their onboarding process looked like, and they go, well, Chris, we've got a checklist, right, on Google Docs, and this is kind of how we do it. I send out an independent contractor agreement. I create a follow-up boss account. I've got all these manual things that I do, and it's done reactively, and it's a pretty big administrative nightmare. So we created the onboarding workflow to help with that. So again, we take your onboarding process and we get it built out into the Humaniz UI. So when you're ready to onboard someone, you change the stage in Humaniz to send to onboarding. That agent will then get a login to a portal where they can do things like sign their independent contractor agreement. They can fill out a W-9. They can fill out all their MLS change paperwork. We have form functionality in there, so you can capture whatever information you need from them to actually go and do things like set up a follow-up boss account, set up a G Suite account, whatever it may be. It's completely customizable, right? From a task list perspective, you can create multiple tasks for multiple people. They can be assigned to VAs, operations people, whatever it may be. So now the onboarding from an administrative standpoint is handling it in one centralized system, right? Where all of the documentation lives in one place. You have ways to track completion levels. Is the agent where they need to be, what they need to be doing? Onboarding is not a really sexy thing in most people's brains until you feel the pain of not having it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where like if you're used to onboarding an agent or two every 6 months, it's not really a huge pain point. But when you start to double and triple your team size, then it turns into a little bit more complexity, right? So we have the onboarding functionality. The last part is something that I think is going to be our most significant and impactful feature we've built ever, right? Even more than the recruiting functionality. So Elena, I'm sure you can relate to this after seeing inside so many people's systems. Lead conversion is probably one of the single most important things and I'd say most significant rooms of opportunity improvement for most teams, right? It's like, I don't think I talk to very many people often where they say, yeah, our lead conversion is exactly where we would like it to be, right? It's always a pain in the butt, so to speak. So when I was growing my team, something that we came up with and what helped us grow and convert at such a high level was a process we created called pipeline reviews, right? And essentially what it is and the way it works in our system is when we interviewed, collaborated with, surveyed, I guess you could say, all of the top teams that are on our platform that are doing big numbers, a common thread was that they were regularly meeting with the agents on their team to go through their pipeline and what's actually happening in their business and proactively coaching people, not giving them leads, keeping their eyes closed and going, I hope this works, right? So we built out a feature that I developed on my team. It was done with 10 different systems and kind of jerry-rigged and put together. It's called pipeline reviews. And the way it works is we get a team's entire roster, their existing agent roster loaded into Humaniz. So name, phone number, email address. The system, at whatever frequency you select, you can assign them to a sales manager or you or whoever's going to meet with that agent. You select the frequency in which you want to meet with them. The system will automatically reach out to that agent at that frequency via weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, whatever you want, and ask them to schedule their pipeline review proactively into your calendar. So the same way that the system allows them to self-schedule an interview, they can now self-schedule a pipeline review or coaching session into the team leader or sales manager's calendar. The system continues to drip on the agent until they do it, right? So there's obviously an incentive there. And then once they get it scheduled, our system gives the team leader a coaching rubric and a form to direct the conversation. So instead of just meeting with this person, it's all done over Google Meet, so it's all very easy and virtual. Most of the time, most team leaders will say, you get into a pipeline review, it's cool. How's everything going? Right? Is where the conversation goes. We've made it super tactical. So we give them 3 questions to ask that are built out inside Humaniz to give the conversation structure, right? How are you and how was your week? Is there anything I can do to help you on a personal level? Who are your top 3 customers? And what is the next step to putting them into escrow? Is where you'll spend 90% of your time. Third question is, what are you not getting from me that you need to be getting from me to do your job at the highest possible level? That form exists on the screen when they're actually conducting this pipeline review with an agent. And the way to think about it is, it's not a let's take notes on what the agent's saying. It's a doctor with a prescription pad. You're proactively coaching the agents on what they should be doing and how to move the needle in their business. You've got a place to log how the pipeline review went. You click save. A copy of that pipeline review gets sent to the agent. It gets logged on their profile. And now you have a way to scorecard an agent's engagement. You have a way to scorecard your sales manager because we have a dashboard where you can see the quality of the pipeline reviews over time. Are they being done? How frequently are the agents being met with? All of these metrics to give you a kind of a detailed look at what we're actually doing to help improve conversion lives in one centralized place. And for a lot of these teams that are scaled out that have director of sales or multiple sales managers, you as a leader now have a way to scorecard that sales manager, right? Which doesn't really exist yet, right? The cool thing is this feature is pretty much as dumb as it will ever be. We're already working on version 2.0 of this that involves some AI and some functionality there. that we're super excited about. So the way to think about Humanize, to wrap it up and put a bow on it, is it's a way to recruit, onboard, and manage your agents in one centralized portal, right? So this becomes partially like an operating system on the agent side so that you can ensure you're growing headcount, you're onboarding them effectively, and you're managing them tactically moving forward. I know I just kind of threw up a bunch of information, Elena, but if you can't tell, I love this stuff. Yeah. So any questions, ideas? What do you?
Yeah. I want to go back to the very beginning of you're obviously able to attract a lot of agents.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this wouldn't be a successful program or platform. What makes your, I don't know if you want to call them landing pages, marketing strategies, job postings different to where you're able to attract so many agents through this funnel?
Data, right? So we put about 15,000 agents a month through Humanize right now. I've split tested so many different ads to figure out what works. And there's no secret sauce to it, right? I'll give you guys the scoop. It's like the best ads are ads that don't look like ads, right? I think that as agents, we get ad fatigue. I don't know about you, Elena, but all I get on social media are ads for people trying to sell me things from a real estate perspective, right? Listing leads, you get you 30 listings or you don't pay or whatever it is. I get these ads over and over and over again. We're competing for attention with agents, right? Everyone wants to sell agents everything. And from a recruiting perspective, as much as I'd like to think that it's like recruiting, you're selling them something too, right? You're selling them the dream of what it's like to work on your team and hopefully getting enough attention to get them to interact, right? So from an ad perspective, I think our superpower is not in the candidates themselves, but in the administrative workload being completely zeroed, right? Someone could very easily go on and run ads, split test a bunch of stuff, figure out what's working, optimize it, reach out to those people and schedule interviews. But at scale, it's a full-time job, right? So beyond we can generate hand raisers and we're really good at it, the administrative workload going away to get to a conversation is where we think we bring the most value, right? Just because there's nothing stopping anyone from doing what we're doing, but we have the systems and technology to streamline it and allow you as the team leader to stay focused on higher productivity activities, right? Coaching agents is where you should spend 90% of your time, in my opinion, right? Not doing manual work to get to an interview. So, but there is for sure some secret sauce in the ads themselves, just because we have such scale now in terms of where they're being run and what's working and what's not. What I will share with you is the ads that work the best would probably shock you. I'll show you, Elena, so you can kind of see it, but they're not over-engineered. They're incredibly simple so that when someone sees it, it doesn't go, Elena's trying to sell me something. They see it and go, that looks like a really cool team from an optics standpoint. It tugs on the FOMO string more than it does the, oh, I want to go make a lot of money working for key technology solutions. You know what I mean? So there's for sure some secret sauce there.
Yeah, and you mentioned something that I was going to point out is you're essentially eliminating the need for a full-time position to do this, or depending on how many agents you're interviewing and recruiting, more than one position.
Yeah.
I know that like advertising spend's always changing, but do you have an idea of what you recommend? Let's just say it's a small team wanting to add 2 to 3 agents a month to their team. How much ad spend does that look?
2 to 3 agents a month is a pretty ambitious goal, right?
Oh, okay.
Just in terms of like, I mean, we have teams, Elena, that we source over 100 applicants a month for at this point, right? So we've scaled it pretty significantly. They're hiring 20 to 30 people a month. For a team that size, the way I would think about it is boiling it down to like what an agent's going to make for you on a P&L, right? A productive producing agent, how much are you going to make from that person? The way we explain it to people is like, look, we have a very modest platform fee, right? I'll just rip the Band-Aid off. Our platform fee is $750 a month. From an ad spend perspective, it's passed through. We don't charge any type of management fee. To those types of numbers in most markets, you can get away with spending $400 or $500 a month on ads, right? And that's passed through, and that should yield what we typically align expectation around is 10 to 15 scheduled interviews on a monthly basis, right? For an entry-level ad spend like that. At that level, converting it 10, 15, 20-ish% will bring you to that 2 or 3 number pretty quickly, right? the thing I always caution team leaders with is 10 to 15% of this equation is recruit. The other 80-90% is what you do with those people when they actually join and how you manage them proactively, right? So Humaniz is not a silver bullet. The way we explain it to people is it's a part of a solution, but it's not the only solution, right? There's still work that needs to be done on the other end, right?
Yeah. So earlier you touched on that you're a big fan of Follow Up Boss. You used it whenever are you still producing, by the way? Are you in production?
No,
No.
completely
Okay.
out.
Yeah. So you mentioned you used it when you were in production. I'm a big fan of Follow Up Boss. Can you touch on how Humanize integrates with Follow Up Boss?
Yeah, good question. So it's a double-edged sword, right? It's very easy for us to integrate with Follow Up Boss. So if a customer, for example, is already running all of their recruiting and stuff out of the Follow Up Boss system, all we really need is their lead parsing email. It's under the settings section. So it's usually like elenakey@followupboss.me or whatever it is. And if they give us that email parsing number, email parsing email address, we can get that put it on the back end on Humaniz, and all of the candidate flow will be ported directly into Follow Up Boss, right? Keep in mind that if you don't have the system fully built out yet, obviously there's some advantages to staying in the system in terms of automation and the onboarding and all that cool stuff. But for our customers that come across that have invested a significant amount of time, energy, and resources into FUB, it's very easy for us to do that. And it's just clicking a couple of buttons. We're working on and trying to figure out at scale how to develop a more like two-way integration, I guess, right? Obviously, there's a lot of really good data and Follow-Up Boss that would make coaching sessions a lot more effective with agents. So we're working on and thinking about some things there to TBD at this point.
Yeah. Never we're done target. There's always going to be more. Yeah. On that subject, you just mentioned you were going to work on some more potential updates to the integration with Follow Up Boss. What other sorts of features or enhancements are you working on at Humaniz?
Bunch of cool stuff. So the founder always thinks their stuff's cool, right? So that's objective. I'll kind of give you guys a glimpse into the future of what we're really thinking about and why. We think that the way AI is going to work with technology companies like Humaniz, a lot of people are focusing on replacing human interaction, right? At Humaniz, we're looking at AI as a way to augment and enhance human interaction, right? And what I mean by that is, I wish it was as simple as an agent getting on to do a robot pipeline review with an AI avatar of me, right? Where I'm just going to coach them perfectly and everything's going to be great. I think we're really far away from that technology. It just is like an entire society, right? What we're working on next is finding ways to improve the quality of the recruiting conversations our customers are having and the initial agent interactions that they're having from like a coaching perspective, right? When they're doing their pipeline reviews. We find a lot of the time that some of these larger teams, and Elena, I'm sure you've experienced this, like if it were as simple as train agents, give them a script and then convert leads, like you and I probably would be retired, right? It's not that simple. The interviewing and recruiting is the same concept. Sometimes we will have customers that during our onboarding process and built out in the Humaniz UI, we have scripting and scorecarding and talk tracks and stuff on how to best interview and recruit an agent. Because the reality is those conversations are persuasive in nature, right? It's not just an interrogate someone for 30 minutes and then convince them to come work with you. It's like, it's a persuasive conversation. And sometimes we'll have teams where they have a recruiter on staff, right? That may or may not have just been an agent on their team that they decided to put in that seat, where the quality of the conversation that they're having with the recruiting opportunities could be improved, right? So something that's on our immediate radar and what we're working on next is a world where those initial conversations between team leader and recruit or sales manager and recruit or recruiter and recruit are recorded, right? And for quality purposes, transcribed and scorecarded using AI, right? So our immediate next feature is going to be like interview 2.0, where the calls are recorded for like a note-taking purpose, but also scorecarded and then sent to team leader saying, hey, here's how this call went. Here's what could have done differently. Here's where it could have gotten better, et cetera, et cetera. We think that augmenting human interaction like that will make the feedback loop faster, right? Whereas now, sometimes if we have a recruiter that's working with a team, what will happen is conversion will drop, right, over the course of 3, 4, 5 months. And then by the time we get into interrogate reality and look at it together, it's a little bit too late, right? And this person has gotten really familiar having unproductive conversations. So yeah, closing the feedback loop faster and finding ways to enhance our customers' interactions using AI and stuff. So we're super excited about that.
That's great. Yeah, it seems like a lot of companies are trying to figure out different innovative and cool ways to incorporate AI. And
Bingo.
that's a big question everyone's asking is, what are you doing with AI? And it's kind of like, we don't know yet, but we know we can do really cool things.
Yeah, we're working on it. We're playing with it. I think everyone's in the same like
What do we do
playing
with
stage
it?
right now,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like, how do we use it, and let's put one foot in front of the other and ship stuff, and it might be great and it might suck, but let's just focus on shipping new stuff and getting feedback, right?
Where is Humaniz available? Is this available in the United States, Canada?
Yep.
Who can use it?
So US based for now. We have a waiting list going in Canada for when we get our ducks in a row there. The only thing we're waiting on at this point is some compliance stuff with taking payments internationally. We already have functionality up there. So US based for now, Canada in the next couple of months for sure.
Do you have a very conservative time frame for launching in Canada?
Yeah, very conservative would be 90 days. Right?
Okay, well,
Probably be a lot faster than that, but very
yeah.
conservative is 90 days.
So can people start and having conversations with y'all in Canada?
Yes, 100%.
Great.
We've already started for that, and we do have a wait list available if people want to be kept updated.
Yeah, very good. So then people watching this is like a pre-recorded thing. This can be posted a couple weeks after. This is recorded on Friday, July 26th. This will most likely be posted a couple weeks afterwards. So just take 90 days from July 26th. So you're already past, it's probably like closer to 60 days now by the time this gets posted. So if you're open to it and if you have time, I'm sure people are very curious to see what the platform looks like. You don't have to give away everything, but are you open to screen sharing and showing what it looks 100%.
Like? Let me get this pulled up real quick. Okay, so this is a quick overview of the home screen, right, from a dashboard perspective. This is a customer we work with in Florida. So you're able to see on here a couple of different things. Any meetings you've got scheduled for today, any meetings you've got scheduled for tomorrow. Dashboard showing the recruiting funnel month to date, right? So you're able to see what this all looks like. And then a very quick snippet down here on number of pipeline reviews created in the month to date. So this gives you a way to scorecard the interactions themselves, right? Let me make this a little smaller so it'll actually show. Here we go. Cool. So from a functionality standpoint, we've got a basic CRM built out, so you're able to keep track of name, phone number, email address, license number, but you're able to keep track of what the person's doing, where they're at in the funnel. This person's got a phone screen scheduled for July 29th, which is pretty awesome. You have the ability to do things like set up email campaigns. We've got templates built out. You can send text messages through the system. And then obviously you can schedule automatic nurture campaigns to go out as well. So if this person's a not right now type person, you can worry about that later. We pull through their Zillow profile, where they're at in the funnel. This is pretty much where the recruiting prior to the product ends. So think generate appointment, get them all the way to the point where they're ready to actually onboard. When they're ready to actually onboard, it's as simple as quickly updating the stage to an onboarding stage, and it would move this agent from the candidate section over to the team section. And then once they're on the team section, the system, if they're a new agent, will actually send them out a link to a portal where they can, again, do things like send that independent contractor agreement. They can fill out a W-9, fill out a form, complete any tasks you need them to. And it's all very completely customizable in there. The pipeline review functionality is super cool, very easy to do. This is a team that just started using this within like the last couple of weeks. So I think she did her last couple of pipeline reviews literally this week. But you're able to get in. You can select, for example, who this person's meeting with, which date, how frequently you want to meet with them, et cetera, et cetera. And then that form I was telling you about all lives in one centralized place. So you're able to see the name, phone number, where the agent's at, and then keep tabs of what's actually happening during the coaching session, right? When you click save on this function, what happens is it gets logged on the agent's profile. So now if I was a team leader, for example, and I wanted to spot check how my sales manager's interactions are going, I can get in here and I can actually see what this all looks like, right? And what the quality of the conversation looked like. So the big benefit of all this and the way we think about it is all of it living in one centralized place, we think is valuable. right? Just because there's so many scattered systems now and everyone's got 10, 15, 20 pieces of hardware. We think about if we can keep you doing this all in one centralized place, it makes your life as team leader a lot easier. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love it.
Perfect.
So, as we wrap up the conversation, if people would want to learn more or do a call with you or someone on your team, what's the best way to do that?
Good question. So the easiest way to get a hold of us is by going to our website. So it's HUMANIZ dot I like India, O like ocean. You could submit an inquiry there. That'll get you connected with someone on our sales team. If for whatever reason you're like, hey, Chris, I feel compelled to talk to you directly, I want to chop it up, you can go to my Instagram. That's the best way to get a hold of me. My username is literally at my first name, Chris, dot my last name, Giannos. It's spelled out on the screen. Shoot me a DM. Always happy to chop it up, even if it's not about Humaniz. I love our space. I love our ecosystem, and always wanting to talk to cool, interesting people about things they're doing and building and new ideas they have. So for any reason at any time, I'm an open book and very easy to get a hold of.
Very good. Thank you, Chris. I will also link to your website and Instagram in the description.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, Elena, I appreciate the conversation. This was awesome.
Yes, thanks for your time. I appreciate you sharing more about Humaniz.
No worries. Talk soon.
Bye.